I will take weird, disturbing drawings of Sonic the Hedgehog on DeviantArt over QAnon any day.
Yeah, me too, man. But just wait until they integrate all of it.
Then we're gonna have people in their personalities storming the Capitol. Then,
dude, what if it's like Sonic running, and then like in his running circle, it's just a Q there, and it's like where we go one, we go all. Like,
oh my God.
Dude, this sounds sick. That's a tight shirt, though. He just came up with some new shit.
We don't need to encourage them at all.
Dude, we're starting new stuff right now. We're crushing.
Apparently, we're starting the Sonic chapter of it, and Sonic. It's the gotta go fast chapter.
Yeah, go fast. Where we go fast, we all go fast.
Oh God! If this wasn't so goddamn. If you're watching on YouTube, please like, subscribe, and leave a comment about the episode. And if you're watching on Spotify or listening on a traditional podcast platform, please follow, rate us 5 stars, and leave a review if you would be so kind. Thank you. Welcome to the Way to Know You podcast, Season 2, Episode 23. My name is Nick Rounds, and I will be your host. My next guest is a professional artist, podcaster, and actor. His art can be best described as what happens when you put Jack Kirby, Louis Cordero, Frank Frazetta, Dungeons & Dragons, and a bag of drugs into a blender. He's created album covers and collaborated on music videos for Mastodon and High on Fire. He's created amazing monster designer toys and even created his own pop-up Necronomicon book, fun for kids of all ages. When he's not busy shitposting on Instagram stories or feeling like life is an unknowable vacuum filled with fear and loneliness, he's hanging out with his wife, Christy, and petting his cats, Clone and Little Bones. Skinner. Wait, I know you. How are you today?
Good. How are you doing?
Good.
You consider what I do shit posting?
I absolutely love your unhinged Instagram stories. I think my all-time favorite one that you ever posted was you found a resuscitation doll one time that had the face ripped off. And you're basically hitting on the resuscitation doll. You're like, look, let me cut to the chase. I want to have sex with a gross skeleton doll.
Dude, I love non sequiturs and absurdism, and I don't know. There's like it's kind of fucked up because having Instagram and knowing that you can come up with a joke and that you could post it kind of trains your mind to that. And like sometimes I have to be like, no, Skinner, live in the moment, dude. Not everything needs to be a joke online, and thank God I can remind myself to do that, or else I'd be like one of these kids out here.
the cringy TikToks and everything. Well, I mean,
it's really strange to see this TikTok culture, Instagram, like influencer culture, all this, the like filtering human behavior through this stuff is ultra it's like disconcerting, and I'm trying not to sound too much like an old grandpa, but I mean, because I don't know if you feel this way. I'm 44, but I feel more like finally mentally well and happy and chill and not tripping out and freaking out. So I don't care about posting online because I'm like, whatever, I'm already like a human embarrassment. It's fine. But like when I was young, thank God the internet wasn't around for me to post. Holy shit, dude. People would be using that, like blackmailing me, like, hey, dude, I have like like an endless vault of cringe featuring you. And we have it all. You're gonna have to pay us money to not post it. So, I'm grateful. I mean, there's a few VHSs that my mom has of like, when you're growing up, you have the VHS recorder. Those are ultra cringe. That's like the OG. That's like the Paleolithic cringe. The old VHS recorder shit. You find that stuff. Ooh, that's the uncut.
Yeah, young teenage edgelords need not record anything that they do. Only stay in their lane. Don't be racist and shut the fuck up.
Yeah, I feel, and it's like weird because I feel like I look back on my life and it is fully a practice for me not to just be like wincing with, God damn, like what an idiot, just oof, decision after decision, just everything I've said and done, every clothing, all the clothing I've ever worn, like every single way I've shown up in the world to me, I'm just like, yikes. So
Well, you should always be your own worst critic. I mean, if you are not critical of who you are or who you have been in the past, and you're not growing as a person, it doesn't matter how old you are. You should always be critical of. You can even have a critical hit of. Sorry, that was a merch plug for Skinner. I had to rep the OG shirt.
OG, baby.
Hell yeah. But yeah, I mean, it doesn't. You look at anything that you did like a decade ago, it's going to be cringy because you hopefully know a lot more now than you did then. So yeah, it goes with the territory.
Yeah.
I love that we've already gone into the realm of existential dread and self-reflection, but I am here to talk to you about your art, which of course we can go back to the existential dread through your art, but sure. I do, and you also have your own podcast, which I love and I think is awesome. We'll get to plug your Patreon on your podcast later. But I want to talk about you, sir. I want to talk about all the amazing work that you do, as illustrated by all the crazy, awesome artwork that's behind you, as far as like your influences and what you surround yourself with. And I absolutely love your little picture of Jack Kirby as well.
Oh yeah, there he is. There's the king. I love him. He signed his name and it's in quotes. So he put his name in quotes. He put his name in quotes, and then underneath in quotes, he just wrote demon.
That's incredible.
Cool. And it's just like the most adorable photo of him looking all old and grandpa and shit. Dude, that's the one, man. They'll never make another one like him. Never.
For context, the people who are listening that are not familiar with Jack Kirby, I touched on it in the Christy Marks episode, but Jack Kirby is the peanut butter to the Stanley chocolate of Marvel Comics. They're responsible for the Fantastic Four and so many other amazing Marvel properties. But building on that, I mentioned a bevy of artists in your intro: Kirby, Frazetta, Louis Cordero, and among the artists that influenced you when you're a little dude, where do you see those influences reflected within the art that you create today?
I mean, it's interesting because, I like looking back as I've gotten more and more into trying to be a good, like an actual illustrator person. I look back more and more and realize that, the stuff I was looking at in those comics and growing up, I was like, man, this was so influential in this way, if not, forcing me to try to draw like them, but more like giving me an option to, I don't know, like exist outside of just like the mundane life of things. Like, I don't know. So, I remember when I think I was like 6, like 5 maybe. And I had already had this really like intense penchant for fantasy and comics. I would watch, Ultraman on TV, Channel 2.
Hell yeah.
There was like 4 channels or 3 channels back then. You turn the channel on the TV. It's like
adjust the antenna. Yeah.
1983 or something. But the Hulk TV show was on. All that stuff. But I remember my dad had Playboy magazines. He was like a roughneck dude, like a sheetrocker guy. And he was like you know, he'd be like, oh, this is a movie Skinner would like, Beastmaster or whatever. But he had so he would rent those movies. We'd have to rent a VHS machine, and you'd rent the machine, and then you'd rent like 1 or 2 tapes. You get like American Ninja, Beastmaster, or Tor, or Conan, whatever, all that stuff. Anyway,
right.
He had a Playboy, and there was a vodka advertisement in it, and it had this woman on this polar bear. She was like a warrior woman. I think it was like a Boris Vallejo painting or something, or Ken. Something. And my dad was like, hey, Skinner, check it out. This is your shit, you know? And I remember just being like, damn, dude, this is my shit. This is everything I care about. Like, this is the whole thing. Like, but not the chicks. I wasn't like pumped on naked chicks at 6, you know. I was kind of like, oh, that's cool. She's tough, you know. But you know, Frank Frazetta, all this stuff kind of influenced me later, but I was like really buying, you know, comic books from the antique stores. And I lived in Auburn, and it was not a modern town, you know, so it's like
Auburn, California, outside of Sacramento, California, right. Correct?
Yeah. And so I went to this antique store, and they had these comic book boxes in there, and it was like $0.25 for a comic, right? And they were comics from like 1970, 1965, 1968, 1978, you know, Avengers and Hulk, and a couple of like plops, and there Basil Wolverton, or like DC Dial H for Hero, you know, all this stuff. And I was like, discovered it, and I was like, dude, this is crazy. What's this? These comics, this is insane, you know? And I was getting all into it, like 9, you know, 10 years old. And but the funny thing is that these comics were from before I was born. So I was getting these comics, and I'm like, dude, this, like, I thought they were new. I thought this was like the new stuff. And so it's funny because I'm like, dude, I'm all into comics. Have you heard about comics? And everybody's like, yeah, those are like really old. I'm like, what? And then they're like, look at the date. And I was like, oh, this is old, kind of, you know. But
if it makes you feel better, I mean, I think all of our generation grew up with like Looney Tunes and a lot of that vintage animation. So I think a lot of people get like a free pass in terms of like that kind of stuff. Like I was chasing after like Dick Tracy VHS as well. That show like was so racist and terrible, but I loved it as a kid.
The Dick Tracy was a TV show,
a cartoon, yeah.
Oh, it was a cartoon. Whoa.
Yeah.
It was racist.
I mean,
racist, like racist caricatures.
Yes. If you want to get into it really quick, we can. But
no, you know, because you know what's funny is Dick Tracy. I could see it like because it's from the like referentially, it's like 30s and 40s or whatever.
Yeah.
So that was, you know, definitely. It's funny because you think about Dick Tracy's bad guys. It's like flat top, flat head, and like bug eyes or whatever. And I could see it like being raised. It's like the yellow man or whatever. It's like an Asian dude. Yeah, I can totally see them doing something horrible like that.
Yep. Yeah. So the Dick Tracy show. So content warning to anybody that's watching the podcast. I'm about to share some racial imagery that is not held up well. So, but you can research this. Well, I just Googled it, but.
Well, dude, the comics were super racist, but it was a lot of it was based on nationalism too, like jingoism, like the yellow peril.
Yeah.
The yellow peril and the cloth. Like there was also like tons of, you know, black characters that were, oh yeah, totally. The like glasses with the big teeth and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Jiu-jitsu. So the joke about the cartoon series.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So the joke about the cartoon series is that Dick Tracy hardly ever actually did anything in the show. He would literally call his like Jiu-jitsu or Go-Go Gomez on his stupid watch. Yeah. Hold on.
Go-Go Gomez. So that's interesting. So it was like Oh
So
my
he didn't
God,
do.
that's Go-Go Gomez?
Yeah, this shit is racist as hell.
What the fuck, dude?
Yeah,
Oh
yeah,
my
yeah,
God. And
yeah.
the
So
yellow and the white guy is just like a dude in a yellow raincoat.
yeah, yeah. Dick Tracy didn't do anything on this show. He's an absolute piece of shit. Of course, I know this now that I'm an adult, but like, um,
Wow.
yeah. So that's just touching on like vintage animation that obviously hasn't held up well, but that's a deep cut. But there's an amazing book that came out years ago. I want to say like shit, almost like probably 15 years ago, called Ego Trip, the Big Book of Racism, and they covered everything in that. And that's actually a really awesome resource if you just want like a history of like racist shit in film and cinema. It's actually a really interesting resource. So
It's so interesting because Short Round was
oh
like
yes, Kihi
short.
Kwan.
Yeah, but it's interesting because he went from this like marginalized racist trope to being in the Everything Everywhere All at Once movie that just came out.
Yep, so
And
good.
dude, it's maybe the most profound film I've ever seen in my life, man. It's incredible. Yeah, I was like, whoa, I was all worried. Oh, wait, what?
Do you want to talk about it after you're done? Talk about Kwan.
Sure. We can talk about it now. I don't care. Yeah.
Okay.
But I just thought it was cool. Like, finally, this guy gets to exist in a way that's not constrained by, racism or racist tropes. I was really celebrating for this happening. I was like very like, wow, I did not know this would ever happen for this person, But yeah, I don't know. We can talk about that. It was great, man. I loved it.
Yeah. Yeah, I was really impressed by the movie. I didn't know that he could do martial arts. I didn't know that he also was like helping out Wong Kar-wai, and then he worked with Wong Kar-wai on 2046. And I think the part of the movie that really stuck with me was spoilers if you haven't seen the movie, but I'm going to spoil it anyway. I kind of just talked about it with my friend Mike, but I'm going to talk about it here too. Yeah, there's a point in the movie where he's kind of mirroring. There's some homages to like In the Mood for Love from Wong Kar-wai. Wong Kar-wai is an amazing director, and if you haven't seen any of his stuff, please rent all of Wong Kar-wai's movies. He's an incredible director. But yeah, the fact that Ki Kwan went to go work with Wong Kar-wai was amazing, and he also did. Do you know about all his like stunt work and stuff that he did in between his acting break?
No, what did he do?
He did the fight sequences for the first X-Men, and he also I got to pull it up, but he also did a bunch of kung fu and martial arts choreography for some other movies. But yeah, he's been doing stunt work. He's been doing directing. So he's been kind of behind the scenes. But yeah, having him come back full circle and become an actor again, and like even though he's hit puberty and he's got a dude voice, you still hear little tiny Ki Kwan in his voice, which always makes me happy. So what did you think of the movie?
Oh, well, I mean, I thought it was, it's really interesting because when you think about the stuff that disconnects us from each other, the busyness, the way our minds are hyper calloused, and we're just so busy checking off the boxes and sustaining our survival in this like, unforgiving, inhuman kind of environment where, you're being conditioned to believe that working all the time is the best way to be. And that, if you do want to exist in some way, you actually have to commit to the capitalist treadmill, let's say. Yep. And that once you're in that treadmill, if you're not careful, you will forget why you even got in there. And in this film, it was really beautiful to see that the thing that was that everybody was suffering from was that they weren't getting outside of themselves to reach out to another person, or somebody tried already and was like, I can't really do this anymore. And I think that like, I think about it too, like in my life, like so many times where I feel like, I thought I knew what was best. And I thought that what I knew, and I didn't realize that my suffering and my disconnection and my not being able to spend time relating to people because I'm so busy doing what I think I'm supposed to do created such a distance between me and people that cared about me or people that I loved, and that I would soon start to see people who wanted to connect with me as a pain in the ass. You're stopping me from doing what I gotta do, which is like what the mom had that going on, where she's like so busy that she's not connected to her family. She's totally miserable and she's neglecting herself. And it was like watching that film, you know, I watch everything and I realize now more than ever that everything, the way that we perceive everything is a little bit like a reflection of the way we see ourselves, we experience the world.
Yep.
So I'm like, whenever I have a reaction to something, if it's, I don't like this, or I do like that, or I'm upset, or I'm judging this, or I don't care, or whatever, I always take that as a moment to take stock with like, well, why do I feel this way? Or, this is what does this have to do with me? Like the way I see myself, or why do I feel such sympathy for this character? And why do I not have that same level of sympathy for myself in these times? You know, I don't know. It's fascinating. So I think that movie, what that movie really does is it's a lot like therapy, that movie, because it's a little bit like, folk tales and stories that were created to provide a structure of warning to people.
Parables. Yeah.
Parables. There you go. Thank you. I need help. Help me.
Sir,
okay.
that is what I'm here for.
Thank you. So the parables. So you have these parables, and it's like that movie is therapeutic because it's a parable for what could happen to anybody and what is happening to us all the time. Like, you know, healing and staying connected is a day in and day out thing. That's it. Like if you want to stay buff, you want to get healthy, you don't go to the gym like 5 times and go, all right, cool, I'm good. Like you have to go there all the time. And that's what it is with, like, you know, reflecting on yourself in therapy and trying to understand yourself and know yourself in a deeper way so that you can then show up in a more authentic way, in a more present ability in your relationships and in your life. And so I go see this movie and I'm like, I feel renewed, you know, that everything that I'm doing to try to not be afraid because I am super wounded or I'm traumatized or I'm distracted or I'm discouraged and I don't want to leave my heart open to people who I don't trust and this and that, all this shit. But I'm like, I'm renewed. It's like, no, it's good. It's good to do that. It's a healthy trip to be on, you know? And I honestly didn't really think that I would ever experience that in a movie. You know,
that's amazing.
Yeah. Did you feel that way?
Yeah. So Everything Everywhere All at Once is probably one of the best movies that I've seen in quite some time. The last movie that the Daniels did, Swiss Army Man, I liked a lot. I feel like they fumbled the ending. I feel like they fumbled this ending as well a little bit. I think it dragged on a little bit too long. I think the portion with like rounding the corner and the edges of like her relationship with Jamie Lee Curtis, I don't think was really necessary. It was cool and weird, but I think you needed like everything from The Rock and on. They really needed to like wrap it up and like slam dunk that ending, because everything up until that point was like so incredible mind bending. Like when that whole sequence where she's blowing through the multiverse, you see all the flashes of who she is, which of course is, if you have light sensitivity with like Caesar and stuff like that, like warning, that's a huge problem for that movie. But there's a point where the movie gets really quiet and it's literally just Michelle Yeoh's character and her daughter are just rocks, because that's all that's left in the universe. They're just rocks with little googly eyes on them. And there's so much philosophy tucked into it, and there's so much beautiful, just like reflection, and just an amazing moment of gravitas, maybe granitas, if you want to be a huge fucking nerd. But I mean, good cinema should do that to you. It should shake you out of your comfort. It should make you question. I mean, I think you really put it really well and succinctly about bringing yourself to the movie and putting yourself and analyzing how you feel about the movie. I think is super important. That's part of the reason why I fell in love with cinema in the first place. Is, you know, I think a good movie should make you feel like really like having an endorphin rush, or just make you really feel a certain way. I think any art should do that, honestly. Like if you hate it or love it, you're having an emotional reaction to it. And I think that means it did something to you. In fact, when I was in film school, I wrote a paper on a film that I hated because it was really easy to write about what I didn't like about it. And so similarly, like
good movie? Art. Come on, you gotta tell me what movie.
Oh, God damn it. All right.
Jaws 3.
No, it's a movie called Hiroshima Mon Amour. Okay. It's a French movie, and there's it's boring. I hate it. Okay. I would not recommend it. There's other movies I was forced to watch, like Jules and Jim, which is French New Wave. But yeah, it was.
You're cultured. I don't know about none of this stuff, man.
I can.
I want Beastmaster, buddy. No,
well, Beastmaster is fucking awesome. I love Beastmaster.
Beastmaster's all right. You know what movie? I want to continue, but you know what movie I watched recently? I've been watching it over and over again. I love it. It's called Die Monster Die.
I have not seen that.
Boris Karloff, and it's an adaptation.
Oh shit!
It's an adaptation of The Color Out of Space. But it's like a mix of the Dunwich Horror and Color Out of Space by H.P. Lovecraft. But it is insane. You have to see it. Anyway, go ahead. So you were supposed to write a paper about a movie you hated, and you realized what? You got to write papers about stuff you do like, because that's harder.
No. So I had to write a paper about a movie that we watched, and we watched a whole bunch of movies, but the one that was easiest for me to write was writing a paper on Hiroshima Mon Amour, because I hated it so much. But then afterwards, I respected the movie, because I realized that a shitty movie, like a really mediocre shitty movie, like you just let it go from your consciousness. It won't stick with you. But if something was annoying enough to where you actually have to analyze, like, okay, why did that annoy me, or what did I not like about it? It's still a good enough movie that you have to critique it in the same way that, like, I mean, I'm projecting here, but I'm going to assume that you love shitty horror movies, and that some of the enjoyment of a horror movie would be kind of pulling apart, like, okay, why does this suck, but why do I love it?
Dude, I'm pretty weird, man, as far as like people think I like certain stuff, but I kind of don't. I like other shit. Like I'm like, I'm sensitive in this weird way where I don't really like to see, like, I definitely don't like realistic violence to humans. I don't like that. I like monster stuff, but if it's like insane where the monster like pulls a head in half, you know, and it's like, I'm like, oh, that's gross. I can't look at it, but I'm kind of also like, that's cool.
It's hilarious that you say that, because I've absolutely fast forwarded. So you hosted a limited series with Super Deluxe called Painting with Skinner. And, you always had like gnarly effects. I 100% like fast forward to those. I was like, I don't need to see Skinner rip off his face this week.
Yeah, it's like, it's hard for me. I don't really like gore, man. I don't. Now I like drawings of gore if it's kind of like cool looking. Like I don't. It's weird, man. I'm a trippy person. Like I'm like, oh, that's a scary zombie head. That looks creepy. You know, like if Bernie Wrightson draws something or whatever, but I don't want to see like women getting mushed up and torn up. And I don't want, you know, it's like, I feel like I don't need to see cartoon versions of real life stuff that we haven't ever addressed.
Right. Like, you don't need to see torture porn.
Yeah. I hate torture porn. I think people like torture porn. I'm like, I just want to body slam them, dude. I want to do torture porn to them. I want to be like, you make a torture porn movie, I'm gonna cut your feet off with a hacksaw, dude. That's what you get. No, I'm just kidding.
That's an open joking warning to Eli Roth, I guess.
Eli Roth, how about this, dude? Just stop making fucking movies, dude. I'm tired of this shit. I'm tired of this shit. But you know what? This is what I was talking. Okay, so I was talking to Phil the other day, and we were joking. We can move to the Phil too. So, anyways, he'll call, be like, to ask for references for movies, for like, hey, you know anything cool on Shudder? You know, and I go,
let me preface this for the audience really fast. So you have had the honor of not only meeting but also collaborating with Phil Tippett.
Yeah.
For the audience at home who doesn't know who Phil Tippett is, he's an ILM legend responsible for the creation and animation of the AT-AT from Star Wars, Jabba, the Rancor, and also Ed 209 from RoboCop, and my personal favorite, the Dark Overlord from Howard the Duck.
Oh yeah, that's cool.
But sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I just want
to
make
sure. He also the crazy thing, he did the dragon from Dragon Slayer. That's that shit's nuts. In best dragon ever. Anyway, so we hang out, we talk and shit, and so he called. He goes, "What do you got on Shudder? What do you got for me on Shudder?" And I said, they got Brotherhood of the Wolf on there. And I don't know if you've seen it. It's like a French movie, and it's weird. I like it because I'm an idiot. All right. Now I think it's cool. So he's like, oh God, it's the worst movie I've ever seen. You know, and one thing that you should know about me is that I love it when people don't like stuff. I think I love to know about it. I want to know why. Like, you hate this. Like, I love seeing people be like visually disturbed, you know. And especially when I think and when I like it, I'm like, oh, why? Tell me why. So he's like, oh, it's the worst movie ever. But he says things that's interesting, because then you know, like, oh yeah, he's really thinking about stuff on a different level. He's like, but the shit that pulls me into these movies is the scope of everything. And it's, you know, it's interesting because when you talk to people that create films and create art and create all these things, like, they like stuff that nobody's totally paying attention to, I think. And, I agree. And but we talk about old movies, but he liked this movie on there called Possum, which is about mental illness. It's a horror film about mental illness, and it is totally amazing and intense. It is so strange. But yeah, his movie Mad God is coming to Shudder soon. You guys got to watch that. It was cool. I helped with that. There's a scene in there. They kept my scene where there's a guy in a little Jeep, and he's going down this creepy little ziggurat. And there's a point where the wheels kind of fall off the cliff. That's my part. That's my part. When you see the wheel fall up, that's me. Think Skinner when you see that. All right. So, but yeah, I don't know. It's like, okay, wait, let me ask you this. So you watch this movie, you're like, I hate this movie. What were your personal excavations that came up from examining why you didn't like it that much?
So it's been what?
You're just like deep, right? Like, oh shit, let me think about this.
It's been 20 years. I've been out of film school for about 20 years. And it's been about 20 years since I watched the movie, because
you can give it to me small, fast bite-sized chunk. All right. You don't have to go deep. It's all right.
So we watched a lot of in film school. We watched a lot of movies that were kind of against the grain. I think I found one of my favorite directors from that class, specifically Luis Buñuel. You know Buñuel if you follow Salvador Dali as well, because him and Dali were good friends in Spain and hung out. And Buñuel's first film, Un Chien Andalou, which showed, like, at the beginning of the movie is a lady sitting on a chair who has her eye slit open by a straight razor. but it's actually a lamb's eye. But it's just like a really surreal film. But that's just like a taste of the type of movies that I was watching in film class, or just like stuff I would never ever seek out on my own. This movie, Hiroshima Mon Amour, it's about these two lovers that are trapped inside of a apartment complex, or like an apartment. They talk to each other really, really weird. They're like, they talk to each other in like really weird and unrealistic ways. They're like, this is how I'm feeling about you, blah, 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 blah. And like, they never actually say what their names are until the very end. And I won't spoil it for you, but it's just like it's a really bizarre film, and it's really long. They're just talking to each other. Nothing happens other than just the dialogue straight up. But it is a hard film to watch if you've never suffered through any like film school stuff previously. Like, there's a lot of film school stuff that's really hard to watch, and there's also other stuff that I'm really glad I watched. I'm glad that I watched the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, the original Nosferatu, which is incredible, the French Beauty and the Beast, the Blue Angel, which is the first appearance of Marlene Dietrich, which is an amazing tragic love story from the 20s. Just, and all the back catalog of Billy Wilder and stuff like that. Like, that's the kind of stuff I love. But again, it's a lot easier to write about something you dislike, because you literally just dunk on it. You're like, fuck this movie, I hate this, and here's why. But now, anytime I go see a movie, to kind of bring the conversation around, anytime I go see a movie and I don't like it, and I realize I don't like it in the movie, I will start actively dissecting it while I'm watching the movie. So,
right. There's this thing that happens where if you make something, you then kind of have a working knowledge of how it's made. And it makes it really difficult for you to watch the movie or do anything like in that way ever again. Like, yeah. I built a house. I built this house we lived in Sacramento. I built a bunch of houses and shit. And it was hard for me to walk into a building after that without like just examining and looking at like how good something was made, or how shitty it was built, or like what were the choices they made with this, and why'd they do this, and like the plumb is bad on the upward, all this shit, So when I watch movies now, I have this a difficult time reserving and inhibiting that part of my mind, especially when I am stoned, or if I like, so I'll get really stoned to go watch a movie, and depending on how high I am, it will take me to these different levels of examining the movie. And the worst place I usually end up at is seeing the table full of people who are producing, the studios, the people with the money, and everybody who are talking about the film. So I'm watching, Old Man Logan, right? And I'm like, and I hated that movie so bad. Like, everybody loved it. Everybody's like, it's cool, man. And I'm like, all I could see was the fucking assholes who thought they were cool and smart and interesting, just talking about the movie, behind the movie. And then, because here's the thing, Western cinema is so crushingly predictable and formulaic. So I was like, dude, this movie sucks balls, like, so hard. I hate Old Man Logan, whatever. Anyway, I have a lot of different opinions about films and movies than a lot of just like my regular friends. Sure. But when I talk to my other friends that make films and stuff, they're like, yeah, it was weird. That was weird decisions, I got that same amount of high. I went and saw Wolverine. I was laughing.
So what you're telling me is that you gotten high to see every single offshoot of Hugh Jackman?
No. I saw Old Man Logan super fucking zooted. I was like, I had 8 weed. I was like, this is fucked up. Like, this is hilarious. Like, this is so bad. Like, I'm laughing. My wife's next to me. She's like, stop laughing. And I couldn't stop laughing. Anyway, I'm like, I'm so sorry.
Where'd you see it at though? Did you see it like at Jack London or something, or elsewhere?
In Berkeley.
Okay, I was gonna say if you saw it in Jack London, you get a free pass for laughing out loud the entire movie.
Dude, I love going to Jack London Square and watching movies.
Hell yes,
with Oakland people. It is my favorite. Okay, so then
every horror movie that I've ever wanted to see in the Bay Area, I always go to see the Jack London.
Dude, oh hell no! Fucking, why are you doing that? Oh shit! So I fucking got that same amount of high and went and saw Shin Godzilla in the same theater, and I was watching this movie and I was like, this movie is perfect. It is fucking perfect. Like, it is the perfect amount of commentary, satire, brutalizing bureaucracy, brutalizing patriarchy, the ineptitude of leadership, the weirdness of cosmic horror, the unpredictability of cosmic horror, the just a Zen slap. I was pumped, you know, and I'm like, this is the difference between like a fucking cool, weird art film, Shin Godzilla, and some formulaic bullshit, Old Man Logan. Anyway, so I'm probably making a lot of enemies and stuff right now, but I don't care. You come at me, I will check it out.
The Berserker Rage.
I like it. I like how in that movie, if you watch that movie again, it's like, Logan's like, he's like, shut up. Wait, what's his name? Shut up, Xavier. Shut up. You don't know what you're talking about, Xavier. Shut up. And then also everybody's getting injected with like weird chemicals. Like, oh, I'm getting injected. Like injecting a little kid, injecting Wolverine, injecting Xavier, injecting everybody. The other thing, last thing I want to say before we move on, I don't want to keep saying all night. They're like, dude, the most crazy, dangerous mutant of all time is on the run. Dude, we got to hunt him down. How should we hunt him down? I don't know, like 6 SUVs. Like, what the fuck, dude? Get out of here. Anyways, right. I'm sorry, Nick. I don't know.
No, you're good. You're good. I mean, I'm right there with you. Like that. The comic is okay, but
it's just fine.
Yeah,
the Hulk family, the inbred teenage, or like the weird Hulk family, that was cool in the comic, Old Man Logan. I like that.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of weird stuff in that. I think the only part that was like interesting was just like Patrick Stewart's take on Professor Xavier. I thought was interesting to see like a decrepit version of Xavier on screen. I thought was actually really interesting. But he's like, otherwise,
Logan, you must protect the child. Logan, you must. He's like, shut up, Xavier. Shut up. You know, it's just like, all right, dude, whatever. No.
You sound like the girl from the Never-Ending Story for like 2 seconds. Say my name.
Say my name, Xavier. Wait, no, say my name, Logan. Say my name. Dude, I rewatched that movie not too long ago. It is perfectly like composed, the whole movie. It is like, there's no fat on that whole movie. It is the whole composition, the whole chronology, the way that one thing moves to another thing, moves to another thing. It's totally interesting. There's never any like, wow, this is weird. Why'd they do this? You know, like how many movies do you watch where you're just like, wait, why did they just do that?
Yep.
It's fucking dumb.
Yeah. Well, I mean, a good movie doesn't waste script. The assumption is that everything that's on the page and on the screen is intentional, and that it's not just filler. Like it's every opportunity and every, like, you know, cell of film is being used and utilized. Like those are some of the best movies and favorite movies where beginning to end, every piece of dialogue is super important. There's no throwaway dialogue unless it's a comedy, then who cares? But yeah. I agree.
Let's get some good writers going here, dude.
Can I have a comic book writer that can actually write a good comic book movie? But yeah, I'm excited for Doctor Strange. It's coming out. It'll be out by the time this airs.
That'll be cool. I'm excited to see that one character that's like the eyeball with the tentacles.
Oh, I used to based on Shuma Gorath, but they had to rename it.
Yeah, that's it. I used to play that character in Street Fighter versus
Marvel versus Capcom.
Yeah, Marvel versus Capcom.
Gonna take you for a ride. Hell yeah.
Berserker Barrage. Come
I get
on, Xavier.
All right, I'm gonna move us off X-Men.
Yeah, yeah.
Is that clone? Is that the
Yeah,
clone?
this is the clone, the world famous clone.
Who's
He just
not
ate.
happy that yeah.
She's upset. She doesn't want to show off. She doesn't like it when I show off with my Wolverine claws.
No Berserker Barrage for her. All right, so we got on a huge tangent about movies.
Yeah. What are we talking about now? What do you want to talk about?
Let's talk about.
Podcast?
Well, we talked about Phil Tippett, but I want to go back to some of the cool stuff you've done.
Yeah.
So actually, I'm curious because I touched on it when I interviewed Horrible Adorables and then meeting Frank Kozik. But you shared a creative space with Frank for quite some time. How did you end up meeting Frank and collaborating with him? And what are some of the best lessons that you learned from your time with working with Frank and hanging out with him?
Frank was he's cool, man. He interesting individual, and getting to know him as a friend is like it's different than he's coarse, you know. That's just him. He's like a coarse person, but he's honestly like a really sensitive dude in a lot of ways, and I have a lot of compassion for him and what like how he's survived this world is like difficult, you know what I mean? Especially somebody who's had to like, you know, trailblaze in so many different ways and reinvent himself to survive and become an artist, stay an artist and stay creative and do all this shit. I mean, it's insane the stuff that guy's done. So, I met him. He reached out to me. He saw some like weird ass statues that I made that nobody else liked. There was like a berserker, vampire berserker. There was like a swamp hag. And then there was like a wizard with an owl on his shoulder. And they were big. They kind of looked like thrift store, like, you know, flea market shit you'd find in they look like you'd find them in Tijuana or something, you know. And so he saw those on my site and he goes, dude, do you have any of these for sale? He emailed me. And I say, sure, man. You want to buy some? He said, yeah. And then I'm sorry, 1 second. Let me clone.
Oh, you're good.
Please. And then and so I sold him a set. And then we just kind of became friends. And I think he just he liked me because in the toy stuff, like I think he could tell I was a little just like ratty, you know, a little rough around the edges, a little ratty. So he's not like, okay, this is like one of those weird kind of like, you know, uppity designer toy dudes or whatever. And I was like, sure, like, let's be friends. And so I sold him stuff. I checked out his spot. It was like, you know, really overwhelming to be in his space. It's a really big, crazy, you know. And then I moved to Oakland and we kind of stayed in touch, and I would go visit him and I would paint toys at his studio and hang out with him, and we'd have lunch and stuff. And over time we became closer friends. And he said, why don't you just have a studio here if you want, you know? And so I would just BART from Oakland over to, you know, the studio and hung out, and it was awesome, you know? And so I had my own little space up there. We would hang out and we would listen to doom metal, and he would share tons of stories, and I learned a lot. But like the things that I learned from him was like a lot of business stuff, you know. I learned to value what I do in a way that I never would have if it wasn't for him, because you're talking to somebody who, you know, sold album cover art to The Offspring for like $70,000. You know what I mean? Which is unheard of. He directed a music video for Soundgarden for like $1 million or whatever. You know what I mean? So it's like,
and also the owner of Man Ruins Records broke Queens of the Stone Age with their first album. Yeah, he's done incredible stuff.
Yeah, he also he paid Tool to record that cover of Led Zeppelin's
No Quarter on their live album. Yeah.
I mean, he he put out Melvins. He did so much shit. He was incredible. It was like huge. And then, you know, distribution went bad and things got really hard and weird for record labels and all this stuff. But like, so he starts out as like a rock poster guy, kind of gains all this notoriety from that, and then becomes an album or like a record label guy, and then basically is like, all right, now I'm just going to be in charge of like designer vinyl toys or whatever. But the things I learned from him business wise, you know, he's like, because there was like times when I would have like big chances to do big things for bigger bands and like larger entities and stuff. And I would say, this is how much money I need to do this thing. And then, you know, it wouldn't work out because maybe that was like more than they wanted to spend or whatever. And I would say, dude, I'm so frustrated. You know, I'm so fucking mad. Like I'm paying so many dues and I'm getting to this point and it's not working. And he's like, dude, listen, it is not personal at all. None of this is personal. None of it has anything to do with you even. It's just, this is like, they don't have the money. It's like, don't take it personally. It is only business. It has nothing to do. They're not trying to insult you. Nobody knows what you've done or haven't done in this way. Like nobody knows about you paying dues, you know? And it really helped because then I could like emotionally unhook from feeling like, God damn it. Like, just pay me what I'm worth, you know? And then, but besides that too, it was like, there was like a moment where I was going to go to Art Basel. And they were going to give me, it was like some deal where they were like, we'll give you $500 to pay for your plane ticket. But then I'd be on the hook to like pay for everything else and do all this shit. But I was like, it'll be fun. I'll hang out with my friends. But at the same time, Mastodon was like, we want you to do our record cover, you know? And I was like feeling stressed because I'm like, oh, I want to go to Art Basel and do this shit, but I'll do record. And Frank was like, dude, you have to figure out what the priority is, you know? And he's like, you don't want to go to Art Basel. I can already tell. Why don't you just make the decision you want to make, you know? So it was just like shit like that, you know, where it was like, I think that there's something to be said about staying in your own lane for so long that it just is going, you know. And with Frank, being in the right place, the right time is a lot easier to do when you're just like, you know, too tough to go away. You know what I mean? And so with him, it's interesting because he's like he's in charge of Kid Robot and shit, makes hella good money. Like he does whatever he wants. Like he's world renowned and he's a legendary dude. But you know what's also really funny though is that he's fully a historian. So if you want to know about shit, like sometimes like we'll be all drunk with him at Comic-Con or something, and then he'll say, oh, do you want to know, like, it'll be like something like, do you want to know why you are not Muslim? And I'm like, oh, no, why? And he's all, because Vlad Tepes, known as Vlad Dracula, was such a brutal dictator that he kept the Turkish army at bay. And he'll just go into this thing, you know, like, wow, that's crazy, Frank. That's fucking cool. Wow, that's crazy. And then another thing that I like to do is get him, because we listen to Art Bell coast to coast when we were up there all the time, late at night, listening to, I'll smoke weed and listen to that with him, and he'll be drawing his like shit and his whatever like evil Bugs Bunny art or whatever, and I'll be drawing like a little Satan or something, and then we'll listen to it, and he'll go, hey Skinner, you want to know why aliens have not visited Earth in our lifetime, in within the span of the human race being around? I'm like, what? And then he'll just draw out a whole graph about like the amount of years that it takes to travel in a certain velocity, and that the nearest possible planet that could house alien life, depending on what the Goldilocks zone would be in that particular galaxy, versus like how long it would take them to get here, and like the probability of like how advanced a race of star spanning beings would need to be on a certain planet at a certain time in order to get to us. And I'm like, damn, you're crazy, Frank. That's cool. But like, you know, this is the thing is, you know, people are interesting for one reason, but then you find out that like the you know the breadth and the width of what people really are is so much bigger, you know. But you need the time and the opportunity. Like I learned about his life growing up as a child in communist Spain, you know, and he would, it's crazy. It's like crazy the shit that he shared with me, and that like I actually don't know if he's shared with a lot of people, but
yeah, I'm not trying to dox him, but
I was probably annoying to him, you know what I mean? I don't know. Like I still text him. Sometimes he gets back to me, sometimes he doesn't, but I, you know, I don't know. I love him. But I still, it's like one of those things where like, you know, the kind of shit that people have to do in order to live a life like that is like probably not a lot of time and energy to like have a bunch of friends like me around going, tell me about the aliens, man. You know, so I don't know. I tortured the fuck out of him. So it's just all.
Everybody likes to be a good Punisher. I mean,
dude, I tortured so many of these dudes though. All these old like, and I go, oh, I'm gonna be friends with this guy, whatever. And like they seem to be cool with it. They don't mind.
Yeah, I was gonna say you're friendly with Buzz from the Melvins.
Oh yeah. I talked to him, and I mean it is kind of trippy. Like if you think about, I guess I'm like kind of an unassuming person in this weird way where I am a giant fan of all these people first, and then I meet them, and then I kind of become their friend, and then I'm like, this is really rearranging the way that I experience people before I meet them. You know, it's everybody's just like a regular ass person. Yep. And it's just what they choose to do with their life that makes them kind of fascinating. And with Buzz, this is the thing though, I should do podcasts with these people that these like do make a new podcast called People I Have Annoyed, and then just like you end up, but like with Buzz too, I always ask him like, oh, what's your favorite Metallica album or something, and he's just like, the one with Lou Reed, you know. And he'll just say crazy shit, you know. It's just like funny to get these guys to say weird, you know, crazy stuff, but he's also like a very artistically knowledgeable person too. We had like a long ass talk about Man Ray, the photographer and stuff, but nice. Yeah, because he's like really into he like a lot of these guys is like enjoying art in this way that's has nothing to do with production value, you know, because we're a very production value obsessed culture. Mm-hmm. And we're obsessed with the preservation of the ideas of things in a high production value way, instead of just letting things be kind of raw and insane, like John Waters or something, where it's like, it's not about measuring up. It's about just being in the moment in a lot of ways, you know? So I don't know. Yeah. These people are funny as hell, man. Like Buzz, but I was like, dude, if I do, that's what I was thinking in my mind. I was thinking if I could do a Melvins album cover, then I would have done Mastodon, High on Fire, and Melvins, which are like my three favorite bands. Oh yeah, there you go. Hell yeah. You know, I could tell you a funny ass story about that album cover.
Dude, oh, please do.
No, Matt Pike. So I would call, so they were like really concerned that I was going to do some kind of like weird psychedelic rainbow art or something, like, and I'm like, dude, I understand what you guys do. I'm not trying to make rainbow art for you. Okay. It's not going to be like a 70s, you know, black light poster or something. I understand you guys are brutal. You want to be seen as brutal.
Is that them responding? Because you did the Mastodon album for Once More Around the Sun as well.
Right, which is like every crayon in the crayon pack. That's what Ron says. He goes, he used every crayon in the crayon box, every crayon in the box. But so I'm like, well, whatever, man. You guys asked me. You asked me. So I was like, guys, it's gonna be all dark and evil. Like, don't worry, it's fine. Don't, like, I understand. I and so I started sending sketches, but I was talking to Matt, and he would call me and be like, hey, Skinner, I got ideas, shit, whatever. And I'm like, okay, what's your ideas? And he's like, dude, there's these giants in the hills of Afghanistan that the United States Army has been battling. The giant. Oh yeah, it's the giants of Kandahar in the hills of Afghanistan. Dude, it's and they're because it's all woven into the conspiracy stuff, the giants of Kandahar. It's like a giant in a cave in the hills of Afghanistan that the Marines were dispatched to kill, and this is part of the Anunnaki legend and the what is that, the Gilgamesh shit, all this Gilgamesh, all this stuff. And I'm like, and so he called me and was like, so there's these like giants. And so he kind of just went off for a while on kind of a tangent, and I'm just listening to him. I'm like, oh dude, that's crazy, man. That sounds good. And so he's like, yeah, and then the Anunnaki are coming down, and like, I want this, so he kind of just went on and on about these things. And I was like, okay, I think I know what you're into. You want some Anunnaki, like evil cosmic power shit. You want like whatever. And he goes, yeah, you got to read, but he's all, listen, if you want to do this right, you got to read the Epic of Gilgamesh. And I was thinking like, well, I said, oh, okay, cool. Sounds good. Which is what I say to everybody. I was like, oh, sounds good. I'll do. All right. Sounds good. Because you just want to keep it moving. You know what I mean?
Keep it pushing. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, but I was thinking in my mind, I am not reading the Epic of Gilgamesh, my friend. I apologize. That will not happen. Now I might listen to the audiobook, but I ain't doing no goddamn Epic of Gilgamesh research for this. You are getting what evil skeleton man if I want to do it. So and then he goes, also I wrote there's a song on there about like a witch and like a little werewolf dog or something too. All right, cool. Talk to you later. Bye. I was like, all right. And so I did a bunch of sketches, and I did these sketches, and I was like, this is going to be cool. And I did them more and more and made them, I thought they were awesome. And I was like, all right, I'm doing an Anunnaki god creature with chains on him, busting through a temple. And there's like a conjurer guy there, and he's getting blasted and all this stuff. And I did Anunnaki, stone carvings and shit and all this stuff. And I still to this day like don't even know if he likes it or not, or but they did accept it. They just said, cool, we'll take it.
That's all you can ask for. I mean, Matt Pike seems like a really, really intense dude. So I think
he's
if you
ultra mellow, he's ultra mellow. It's just that I think that the things that he's into, he's just really into them, And I personally am a connoisseur of conspiracies as a very interesting form of group, like collective, like fan fiction, It's like, you know what I mean? It's like, all right, we're all participating. We're all kind of, it's like QAnon, everybody's like participating and adding their own, it's like, what do they call it? A fan fiction. It's just all a collective performance art fan fiction based on people's fears and their disinterest.
I will take weird, disturbing drawings of Sonic the Hedgehog on DeviantArt over QAnon any day.
Yeah, me too, man. But just wait until they integrate all of it.
Then we're gonna have people and their personalities storming the Capitol. Then,
dude, what if it's like Sonic running, and then like in his running circle, it's just a queue there, and it's like where we go one, we go all. Like,
oh my
dude, this sounds sick. That's a tight shirt, though. You just came up with some new shit.
We don't need to encourage them at all.
Dude, we're starting new stuff right now. We're crushing.
Apparently, we're starting the Sonic chapter of it, and
Sonic.
It's the gotta go fast chapter.
Yeah, go fast. Where we go fast, we all go fast.
Oh God! If this wasn't so goddamn, if this wasn't so goddamn funny, I would cut it because I don't want to have any crazies latch onto this.
You gotta
holy
keep
shit,
it, dude. Where we go fast, we go fast. Where we go fast, we all go fast. That's how it should be. That's what it should be, dude.
And that's how you. That's
sorry. I'm really sorry.
That's how you start a cult, ladies and gentlemen. Just like that.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. All right, we kind of went off on a tangent there.
That's all good. People enjoy it, right?
Oh, absolutely. No, that was incredible. I'm just trying to avoid us accidentally starting a cult or a faction of it.
It's too late. It's already a cult of people who are too busy like rolling on the ground laughing at how dumb everything is to do anything. That's the cult I'm trying to start.
I respect that.
The dumb rollers.
the fast rollers, yeah.
Yeah, we're rolling fast, baby. Oh, look at this. This is starting a little bad here. Isn't this
the new scarf accessory for 2022?
Mm-hmm. Oh my God! Wait. So, was I supposed to say anything smart about going art or something? What is this shit? Ask me anything, buddy. This is a Reddit at AMA. This is the AMA.
Let's talk about your toy stuff, sir. I want to circle back to there.
Yeah, the Dr. Roxo
bullet belt. Yeah, made by Unbox Industries.
Unbox. They're awesome. They're the best. Right now, I'm waiting to find out because I did some Devilman illustrations at behest of them for a Go Nagai collaboration that I've been trying to get going for a while, but it's kind of this fun, mysterious thing to know when people in Japan want to do stuff or not. You just go, oh, okay, they do or they don't. I don't know, whatever. And it's like, oh, you just never know why or when or what. Because that's what's kind of fun about cultural differences is that like you're like, oh, interesting. Okay. That's why you like that or don't like that. Okay. Because I'm through. I've confused every American, and I'm moving on to the other continents now. So
you're there to annoy people in different languages as well.
Woo! But yeah, Unbox. I've got this toy with James Groman would be cool. I've been working on it with him during the pandemic. We wanted to do some stuff where it's like a cursed god, two cursed gods that are merged together. And but he's awesome. I've been trying to figure that out. I kind of the toy stuff got like kind of I just got sick of like using the toxic paint to paint the toys.
Yeah, I get that.
It was brutal. I did not like it, and I was kind of afraid. I was like, you know what I was thinking? This would be the dumbest way to die is if like in a couple years from now they're like, oh, you painted too many toys. Now you have cancer in your butthole or whatever. I'm like, nah, I don't. Or your face has cancer. So I didn't want to do it. And I still have a bunch of toys. I should send you one. You love toys, huh? They're pretty fun.
I do. I'm not going to say no, but you're not obligated to send me anything if you don't want to.
But you know, I have this Morbs toy that I really like that Unbox Industries made, which is based on a character from my second issue of Skin Crawl that's coming out. That's gonna scare the shit out of you, Nick. It's gonna scare you. Go ahead. Yeah.
Let's talk about that. Let's talk about Skin Crawl. Because last year, you kicked off a successful Kickstarter, pitching Skin Crawl Magazine. And this year you just launched your Patreon. You have your own podcast called Hanging with Skin Man. You've took on a lot of work, a lot of amazing things. So what inspired you to create Skin Crawl Magazine beyond some of those vintage horror magazines? Because you have Eerie, like a magazine cover, Eerie, right behind you, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, stuff in that vein of like Castle Frankenstein and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah. I wanted to do like a creep show thing. I had, I did a lot of, the music videos I did, like Mastodon, High on Fire and stuff like that. It was these treatments that I did where I was really excited about telling stories, like narrations. And I was like, cool. It's like you can get funding to kind of do like a short film and for a music video. But then what happened was the old pandemic hit us up. And I was like, I have all these music video ideas that I want to do. I had one that I want to do for like Faith No More. I wanted to do another one for Mastodon. I want to do it for all these different concepts. And I was like, well, I'm going to just write these out because it's basically like how I would want to do them as videos. And I'm like, well, I'm going to make these like, little comics during the pandemic. And it was extremely hard for me. It was like a learning curve. Comics are really, really difficult. Pete Von Schally helped me with layouts and I wrote it all out and tried to like over and over again, like writing something and then trying to do it better and like better and better and better. And I was thinking, comics have been extremely important in my life. I think they're just the fucking best. I've loved them since I was a little guy. But I was always afraid to take on the responsibility of making one because sequential art is extremely difficult. It's strange and hard to do. So I didn't know. I was like, well, but I was like, well, I got a lot of time on my hands here. It's the pandemic. So I just did it. And I was like, well, this feels good, And then when they came in, I was like, this is great. The Kickstarter was super successful. Everybody seems happy. I was pumped, man. I mean, the second one is done now, or all the illustrations done now. I'm going to do the coloring and get that done. And I'm in talks right now to have Skin Crawl turned into like one of those no sleep style podcasts.
Rad.
Yeah. So it's going to be like a radio play type shit, Skin Crawl magazine. So I have like a whole season that they're going to buy a season. They have a good budget. So I'm going to do that. Get Rotten Raleigh back in the mix. That's the host of the comic.
The severed hand that has a face and mouth on it. Yes.
Yeah, the severed hand. It's a cursed claw. It's neurotic, mentally unbalanced, cursed claw. And here, let me show you. So in between each story, I like to do a splash page of the character. So here he is getting therapy from his therapist.
Amazing.
Yeah, and then he's taking a ride on this crocodile. He's got a chicken wing. He's a chicken leg. He's keeping him moving.
Your ink and line work is so incredible. Like even just your black and white stuff always blows me away. Like how intricate and amazing it is.
Thanks, bro. This is it. Raleigh goes to war. Like Sergeant Rock. So
I was gonna say that kind of reminds me of like Stormtroopers of Death a little bit with that kind of style.
Yeah. So I I'm just doing this stuff, but right now I'm working on that. And then I have a video game, the 16-bit, 32-bit video game that's sort of like Ghosts and Goblins meets Golden Axe. It's called Flesh Haunted Lords. And we're really, really close to having like a playable first level, the intro and all this stuff. And then I'm going to talk to my friend who works at Epic Games, and we're going to try to get that produced for Steam or Nintendo Switch or something. And then my movie, Shrine of Abominations. That's stop motion horror fantasy that I've been working on. That's going good. That's Phil Tippett is directed all the live action scene. Oh, he co-directed the live action scenes, but he did all the camera work on both of them. But as you can see, I'm just a real busybody. I don't know what else to do with myself, man.
Well, Skinner, I appreciate your time, and we've only scratched the surface, only mean the stuff that you do, but I don't want to take up too much more of your time because I appreciate it. But I do have one last very important question for you.
Lay it on me, baby.
And it's very serious. Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
What is your favorite episode of the X-Files and why?
Man, I think the episode Home is really good because it's super scary and it's like creepy, but it's also about understanding class, people of low class being left behind. But I also, God damn, dude.
I didn't mean to drop a bombshell on you, but
no, it's okay. It's okay. But the one with God damn, dude, the one with the guy who eats livers, who like lives, that one is fucked up. That's a two-parter, I think. But the one that with the little Russian leech man, the that one where he's in the sewers, the leech man, that one's scary as hell.
Mm-hmm. And the liver one was Eugene Toombs. I think the episode.
Yes, Toombs. We gotta get Toombs. That one is scary. He almost got Scully, dude. He almost got her. Yeah, I don't know, man. I was thinking about it the other day. I was talking to somebody and we were laughing because, it's basically like, here's a scene, right? Something weird happened. There's a body. It's all burned up. Mulder's like, this looks like the work of a high-level alien probing device that could have destroyed the body, Scully. And then he's like, all right, Scully, examine the body, do all the actual like work, and then like look at it, examine it, medical style, like you do. And then I'm going to just kind of look around and see what's going on, do a little research, something. And then that's what happens. And then Mulder goes and looks around and he's like, oh, yep, this is some alien shit. That's what I'm talking about, whatever. And then Scully's like, Mulder, these burns are done by a thing, like whatever. And he's like, I don't know, Scully, sounds kind of crazy. And then she does more work, right? She does even more like research and shit. And then it kind of comes to a crescendo at the end of the show. And then something else crazy happens. And then Mulder's like, and Scully's like, I think it was this and this and this scientific thing and whatever. And then Mulder's like, guess we'll just never know. Right? Right? Am I right? Like, it's fucking funny, dude. It's hilarious. So I don't know. That's the movies are terrible.
God, yeah.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah. My favorite episode was I think the one where they're trapped in the cabin with like the flesh-eating bacteria that's flying outside that only stays in the it only is repelled by the light or whatever, and like if they go outside during the nighttime they'll get eaten alive.
That's a scary one, dude. You know what else one was scary? The fucking cult one where they had the little worm in their neck.
Oh yes, that was a good one,
dude. That one was crazy. That one was crazy. I also like the one about the Asian gambler dudes, the Chinese gambler guys.
I don't know if I saw that one, or maybe I don't remember it.
They're in Chinatown. It's like the luck money and all that stuff.
That sounds familiar. Yeah.
Dude, on Friday nights, man, I would get out of school and then my mom would drive me down to my friend's older brother's house and we would smoke brown weed and we would watch X-Files. And then we would go out to this gothic industrial club called the Amazon. And we would go out there and I would just be like, dude, my life fucking is cool. This is cool. The best times of my life, baby. But yeah, but dude, this has been fun, man. This is cool.
Yeah, it's been fantastic to talk to you. Yeah, again, we didn't get to we didn't touch on everything you did, but let's
This
plug
is
your
what
stuff.
happens with me. Is that everybody has a question? I feel like I'm one of those elusive little genie men or something where I'm like, you ask me a question, I'm like, what about all this stuff?
You cannot control Skinner. You can only ride the ride. Buy the ticket, take the ride. No, it's good. You actually answered a couple questions I was going to ask you anyway, so it's all good. But let's plug your stuff, sir. Where can people find you? Your Patreon, your Instagram, all that stuff.
Instagram is at the Art of Skinner, where I'm like incessantly trying to remind people to go on my Patreon. But my Patreon's fun, but I got to figure out a better way of doing it. But my podcast is on YouTube, Hanging with the Skin Man, on my on my channel at the Art of Skinner. I think it's the Art of Skinner YouTube channel. Other than that, Bay merch /Skinner for my web store. I have a lot of crap on there you might like. But yeah, I don't know. Just online, you'll find me there shit posting. I'm gonna cut to the chase. I want to have sex with a faceless skeleton today. I remember that now. It's coming back to me. There's like this like reusable thrift store type place up the street on Telegraph, and that's where that skeleton was.
I would have guessed Urban Ore in Berkeley, but or something like that. But yeah, that's good.
No.
Amazing. All right, Skinner. Could talk to you for like another 2 hours, but I want to be respectful of your time. But thank you so much.
Absolutely. I'll come back.
All right. Everybody else, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time.